These shots of kids selling goods around the pier were taken today just after 5 p.m. As the Human Rights of a Child meeting was in session, child labor and child protection was key on the agenda. A report in 2014 by the International Labour Organization recorded 106 child vendors forced to sell goods on the street late into the night, exposing them to many dangers.
Children as young as 7 years old were working on the streets as child vendors, and children below the age of 18 years were working on the streets selling a variety of goods. Worse still, some children were found in the forms of hazardous work, working long hours into the night, in commercial sexual exploitation, and peddling drugs or begging. Children were used by their parents and other carers to do this work and not sending them to school. This was the finding that came out of that rapid assessment survey of children. The report is with the Office of the ILO and with MSIL, and you can get a copy of it. It will give you the details of the 106 children who were interviewed. Now, the initial reaction for people when they first heard about this was, of course, unbelief. And a lot of people also said that maybe you're looking at one particular side, you're not looking at another side, that this could be training ground for future entrepreneurs. And with those kinds of mixed messages, it was very hard to find a way through to see how we could eliminate child labor in Samoa.
Speakers didn't hold back today, stating a lack of action by governments who have yet to pass the 2013 Child Protection Bill. An ongoing challenge raised during the session called out government ministries who have failed to act or who continue to disregard and ignore the human rights of child.
It's the work that needs to be done. It isn't being done. The reason is because I think for most of the people, children matters, and child, in spite of rhetoric and what we say about it, we still tend to push it to low priority. Classic example is that the Child Protection Bill has been talked about since 2013, and it still has not been passed. What does that tell us? We don't value our children? Yet we're trying to say in that Child Protection Bill, we should be looking at these issues. Another example is that when the task force was set up in an informal, albeit an informal way, we had problems trying to find a ministry to take it up.
These shots of young kids selling goods on streets, being verbally abusive, makes you question, where are the parents? Police Commissioner for Lili Kyle says, which vendors are not only victims, they are also committing crime.
Every year we've been doing a survey for the last 3 years, and the numbers are increasing where these kids are being victimized. And also we're seeing a trend of these kids, underage, juveniles, and we're looking at 17 and below, that are involved in crime. We see an increase in that as well. Some of the sexual crimes that we're seeing now involving these young ones are just incredible. Topping the top 10 is assaults. And it comes down to insulting words, causing injury, sex, and so forth. Interesting enough, too, the sexual crimes against these victims, which involves 100% females, are increasing as well as we go on. We haven't done the count this year, but I tell you, it's climbing.
Sex child exploitation, trafficking is a problem, and laws need to be in place to protect the children.
No, and we agree with what the Commissioner of Police is saying, that the problem is increasing. We're seeing more and more children in the streets, even during school hours. So the Compulsory Education Act is not working. And trafficking in commercial sex is increasing. That's increasing. Now, people who are interested in research should really go out there and do that research and feed that information to the community. But as the Commissioner of Police says, we need a concerted effort.
There's a pending bill, and we're really hoping that when that bill becomes law, it will really help us in trying to get the message out and to strengthening our stance to stop child vending.
Speakers today made it clear that there is already enough evidence that child labor, Child exploitation is a major concern when it comes to the rights of a child. If only the lawmakers of the country made it a priority, what is needed is action to enforce child protection laws to stop child labor and child exploitation in Samoa. Jack Semanutafa for Talafo.